Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is warning against leaving vaccine distribution in the hands of the Trump administration. Biden attended a virtual coronavirus briefing in Delaware on Wednesday. A team of doctors and former health officials participated in the event that focused on development and distribution of a future vaccine. Biden later delivered a speech in Wilmington. Here's what he had to say before laying out his own plans.
The stakes are too high. American families have already suffered and sacrificed too much. So let me be clear. I trust vaccines, I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump. And at this moment, the American people can't either.
CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now from Wilmington, Delaware. Caitlin, great to see you. So, Joe Biden also pointed to the Trump administration's handling of coronavirus testing and PPE as reasons why he believed that the current administration just isn't the best option for a vaccine rollout. But what is he saying about how a Biden administration would distribute a vaccine?
Well, the Biden administration, he says, would leave it up to an independent board of scientists that would be, in his words, transparent about the process and about the vaccine. And this comes against the backdrop of what we've seen in public polling, which suggests a mistrust of the administration's handling of a vaccine. In our CBS News Battleground Tracker poll, a majority of Americans said that they would wait and see before taking the vaccine themselves. But it also presents a tricky political dilemma for Joe Biden. A couple of weeks ago, when Kamala Harris was asked about whether she trusted a vaccine under the Trump administration, she said no. And when you are talking about vaccines, you don't want to suggest any kind of politics are involved or make this a political issue for people. So kind of trying to strike that balance between talking about mistrust of the administration but support for a vaccine. So Joe Biden tried to make this clear today, that he doesn't want to have the vaccine riddled by politics, that he says that he trusts vaccines and trusts scientists. He says he just doesn't trust Donald Trump.
Well, you also asked Joe Biden to elaborate on who he does trust when it comes to vaccines. I'm going to play for our viewers a little bit of that exchange.
You say that you don't trust the president. Does that mean you also don't trust the CDC and the FDA currently?
No. I don't trust some of the people, like the fella who just took a leave of absence from the CDC. He didn't run it, but he was a spokesperson for it. But there are some, when I met with the 7 scientists today on the screen here in this room, they told me the people that they had worked with in the CDC and the FDA and all the various agencies. And there's some very, very good people there in the ranks, the everyday folks that are not everyday, they're scientists, but the people who do the daily work in there. And there's some very, very good people.
So, Caitlin, tell us what else he had to say about all of that.
Well, he went on to say that some of the scientists briefing him have said that people that they talk to at the CDC feel sometimes that they are under political pressure. So that's kind of how he elaborated it there. But it does present an issue that Biden was trying to present today, which is not to sow doubt about vaccines. This is something that where they don't want to go and have kind of risked going there. But they want to try to speak to this distrust or anxiety that some Americans have had, according to polls, about whether to trust the vaccine. Another element that we saw in polling is that people think that if a vaccine is ready soon, that it may have been rushed. So again, this is a challenge for the Biden campaign, trying to support vaccines without and talking about what they would do, but without sowing any kind of distrust in the science and in the vaccine. So this can be tricky political territory, and that's why Biden felt that he had to come out today and talk about this directly.
All right, Caitlin, you also asked Biden why certain polls show him lagging behind the president when it comes to the economy. How did he defend himself?
That's right. Even as Trump lags behind Biden on handling of the coronavirus, and that's something that we've seen fuel Joe Biden's support in key battleground states, especially places like Arizona, we have seen at the same time that Trump has an edge on the economy. And that's a theme that the Trump campaign has been trying to focus on. We saw that as a big focal point of the Republican National Convention just a couple of weeks ago. So I asked Biden, why he thinks that is, and he said, he kind of suggested that he thinks that he's not doing a good enough job making clear what his economic message is. He said, I've been out of office for several years and people may not remember what I did in the Obama administration and how he says that he worked to help recover from the recession in 2008. So he suggested that he needs to do a better job. He also suggested, I asked him, what do you say to people who say that even if you had acted earlier, that the economic impact, how would the economic impact have been different under your watch? And he said, it suggested that he would have acted sooner, that the prolonged economic fallout we wouldn't see because this could have been contained earlier. That will be something that voters have to make a decision on. And this race is really shaping up to be a referendum on Trump's handling of coronavirus. But the silver lining that the Trump campaign has is on the economy. So in 2 months, where do voters feel like they are on both of those fronts?
Well, Joe Biden's position on issuing a nationwide mask mandate has shifted throughout the campaign. Did he clarify where he currently stands on that?
That's right. A couple of weeks ago, when our Ed O'Keefe asked him about this, he suggested that there were going to be legal barriers to him implementing a national mask mandate. Today, he kind of switched course a little bit and said that his legal team thinks that it could be possible. This comes as we heard from the CDC director today testifying in front of Congress, saying that, look, a vaccine may be further off than we realize, and the best prevention right here, right now, is wearing a mask. So that was a big headline coming out from the CDC director, especially since just yesterday, Donald Trump in a town hall said that he thinks that some people don't like wearing masks. So here you have the CDC director saying that this is the best preventable course of action against the coronavirus at this point in time.
And speaking of masks, Caitlin, I'm often asking the reporters covering the president about his events and adherence to those recommended best practices that you mentioned. So same question to you about Biden. Were people masked up and socially distant at the vice president's events?
Yes, they were. I have my mask here. I am socially distanced from our crew here, so that's why I'm not wearing it on air. But inside, we were inside a theater, and before going inside the theater, we had to wear a mask and we had to keep it on, except for when we were asking a question. We were had our temperatures checked before going in, and we were seated all socially distanced apart from one another. There is a limited amount of reporters that are allowed into these. Usually now it's just a pool, press pool following Biden. Today they expanded the pool to have one editorial presence from the outlet. So we were seated socially distanced apart, and they actually had white circles allocating where we would sit. So we wore a mask the whole time, took them off to ask questions, put them back on, and Joe Biden, of course, was set on a stage, so socially distanced from us as well. But I can tell you that as I've reported with you several months ago when we were out on the campaign trail, this is a very different kind of campaign trail, and we're all trying to adapt as safely as we can.
Absolutely, and I appreciate those peeks behind the scene. I think our viewers do too. Caitlin, Huey-Burns, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.